All right, Terry, thank you very much for swinging by the studio today. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Ryan.
Not too bad. It is getting hot, isn't it? This summer is amongst us.
Oh yeah, yeah. They talking about triple-digit weather tomorrow in some areas.
Yeah. Already in June, we're getting our triple-digit weather. That's kind of crazy.
Yes, sir.
So look, I don't know anything about you, and
Okay, I'm just a man, but
trying to get through this world.
Okay, well, we can go down that road. That's not a problem.
Yeah, where are you from originally?
That's a very good question, and we try to figure that one out because I was born in Denver, Colorado, right? As a baby, I left from there, and we was going through Oklahoma City because my mom had some connections there with stuff when I was like 3-4 years old. So we stayed there until I was like 13, 14. Then we moved to Los Angeles.
So what was it like kind of growing up in Oklahoma City? I've never even been.
You missed the story of Denver. Well, I come from a family of 15 total of brothers and sisters, and my brothers was all knuckleheads and stuff. My mom and dad, with that many kids, they had to go out and have 2-3 jobs, right? So they was never at home. And so everyone out there, don't leave your kids at home. Spend time. Always watch over them. Have somebody go and check it up on them because your kids might end up like me and
getting into too much trouble.
Well, I can't go into everything in detail, but they was in the kidnapping. They was in the drug game. They was into the gangs. We basically got kicked out of Denver.
Oh wow, that's serious.
Yeah, you have to read Last Man Standing. And the way I wrote Last Man Standing, it was basically, I didn't want to come with blood, guts, and all that. I wanted to make people laugh from the stories that I told.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, to make a long story short, to keep the story moving, we basically got kicked out of Denver. We was going through Oklahoma City because my mom wanted to see some of her relatives down there. So 2 of my brothers decided while we was going on this vacation, they decided to rob some people. Got caught up on 2 murders. And so we kind of got stuck for a few years. So that's the reason why on our trip going to California, we had to stay until I was 14.
Oh my God.
So while we was there in Oklahoma, we was in this place called East Spencer, Oklahoma, which is in a green pasture, Dungy area, which is the ghetto there. And while my other brothers was doing time for the murders, my other brothers started setting up drug houses and, getting well known in the community.
And you were 14 at this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I left at 14.
Right.
While all this was taking place, when I started acknowledging what was going on and stuff, was around 7 years old. My mom and dad got into a situation where some people was trying to kill both of them, so they had to move away. We owned several homes, so they left me and my brothers with a house.
Mm-hmm.
My brothers turned that house, it was a big house, they turned it into a drug house. We had cocaine in the wall, we had PCP in the ceiling. I mean, it was a major distribution of drugs. I used to watch my brothers argue, and brothers and cousins argue over who was getting most of the heroin in their arm, and they would chase each other around the table like little kids, fighting over the spoon and trying to snatch the needle out of each other's arms and put it in their arm.
Oh my God.
At 7 years old. So I was watching that as well as watching Bugs Bunny.
That's a little different than watching cartoons, isn't it? Oh my God.
But it became the norm.
Yeah.
So, and let me tell you about the ghetto. In the ghetto, you have the best car thieves, you have the best robbers, You had the best hitman. These are they bank robbers. These are their profession. Seriously, this is their 9 to 5. And most of the people that does these different jobs, they stick to their craft with what they're good at. And so the best of the best. So they would come by our house to get their morning coffee, which is whichever type of drugs it was that we had to supply them. They'd get their coffee and they'll go out on their daily journeys. And that's the ghetto.
And that was you in Denver, Colorado at 7 years old.
That's in Oklahoma City.
Oh,
We got kicked out of Denver when I was 4.
you got kicked out of Denver when you were 4, and then in Oklahoma, you guys ended up in the ghetto.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we moved from hood to hood. The ghetto from Denver, we moved to the ghettos in East Spencer, Oklahoma, and then we moved to South Central LA after.
Wow. What a journey. So how many siblings do you have?
It was 15 total. Now it's about 6 left.
15 siblings.
Yeah.
You were one of 15.
Yeah.
Those numbers are staggering.
But see, it's normal in our community.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, that's what a lot of people don't understand. But we get used to it and we think it's the norm.
And now there's only 6 of you left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that because the rest have been incarcerated or have passed on?
They passed on.
Oh, wow. It's not an easy way to grow up at all.
We thought it was the norm.
Yeah.
So, and that's going to help out with our discussion later when we start talking about mental health in society, et cetera, this and that, because a lot of us grow up in environments that we think is normal, but it's not normal, But that's the lane we was given to live.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's incredibly challenging to grow up in that environment and think that anything is normal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I realize this, but it's just like if your grandpa carry you out hunting, right? And you a little boy, you 4 or 5 years old, and you if you're raised up hunting like how it is around the country in certain areas and stuff, then you come back here to like LA and you talk about, oh, I'm gonna go hunting or this or that, whoop-de-whoop. Everybody, they want to crucify you because it's wrong to kill animals, correct?
Well, it depends on what part of the country you're in, at what time, exactly. Yeah.
But see, it's one of those mental things that, we don't realize, because my grandpa was a great hunter, and I didn't know that was wrong. I thought, my grandfather was.
Okay. Wow. That's okay. I'm just trying to unpack all of this. So you grew up in Denver and you had to leave at the age of 4. Then you went to Oklahoma City where you grew up in a yeah. And then, and then you end up, so when did you move to South Central?
At 14.
At 14. So you're in South Central LA at 14 years old. And I mean, are you even going to school at this stage?
Yeah, we go to school and it's just a normal thing. I ended up in Compton. We basically met the kids in the neighborhood, which a lot of people consider them gangs and this and that type of stuff. But actually it's the kids in the community. So if you start hanging around kids, you don't have to gangbang, but none of that kind of stuff in the neighborhood that you live in here in LA. It's just you live there. Now, I was going to school. I was a sports kid.
Okay. What'd you play?
See, that's the thing. I'm gifted in basketball, baseball. I ran track. I did martial arts. I did, sports just came real easy to me and my kids and everything else. So I played pretty much everything. I tried to stay busy to keep myself out of a lot of riffraff that was going on in the communities. But like when I would leave from home from one neighborhood to try to just make it to football practice. Now we talking about a 14-year-old kid. You go down the block. I had to go through like Nichols and Gardens and stuff like that. And you talking about grown men beating up a 13, 14-year-old kid just because he's from over on this side of town. One day I came home looking like the Elephant Man. I had my jaw broke. I had a fossil stuck in the top of my head. Both eyes were swollen closed. I still had the bottle hole in the top of my head. And I was like on the cartoons. They chased me down the street. And I just came I'm 14 years old. Now, I read into this little convenience store, and we talking about, oh, God, 22-year-olds got 22-inch arms fresh out of penitentiary. And they just chasing me because I'm from a different neighborhood. And it was like the cartoons. They'll punch me, I'll fly in the air and do a couple of flips, go on the other side of the potato chip rack, and then another fist hit me like on the cartoons and knock me back in the air like on the cartoons. I'm flipping over. So I thought I was a tennis ball for a while. They was hitting me. I was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then all of a sudden it was like slow motion. I saw this wine bottle while I was in the air getting ready to go to the other side. So while I'm in the air, I grabbed this wine bottle and I came back on the other side and I hit the dude in the head. And I shouldn't have did that because I made him mad. Man, I ran down the street, and then the bus driver with the Metro bus, he was like, little man, come on, run. And he had me to hurry up and run, and he was following me. And then he hurried up and opened up the door, and then he shut the door, and they was trying to get on the bus and stuff, and he hit the gas. And he saved my life that day, but I was looking like the Elephant Man. I had a bottle still stuck in my head going home. I told my mom, I was like, I'm sick of school. I don't want to learn. I don't want to play sports. I don't want to do nothing because if I got to go through this, and then we had to walk down to Martin Luther King Hospital to, get myself.
How hard is that at 14 to have to like deal with something that ridiculous, like just being in that kind of danger just to get to school?
See, that's the thing. That becomes a norm for a lot of our kids. In the communities, that's just a normal thing. It's a norm. We desensitized with walking down the street and you see a dead body in the alley. You see this often. And then you got to go to school and you got to do your arithmetic. And we didn't have therapists in the community, or nobody cared about us enough to make sure that, hey, that kid needs therapy. So what do we have going up into society with kids, thinking this is normal?
Because that's a huge amount of violence to be exposed to at such a young age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could be the nicest guy in the world, but when you ask that question, if you walking down the street and you ask that question, where you from, the smartest thing in the world for you to do is take off running. Because you're either finna get shot or stabbed or you're going to get beat up, and it's going to happen to you. So you might as well try to get away.
Just from being from the wrong neighborhood. Nothing more.
They can catch you at the gas station. On to say, where you from? And that it's on. When you hear those words, take out running. I don't care who you, it doesn't matter what color you are. It don't matter about anything because any and everybody's going to be asked that deadly question.
Mm-hmm. What was it like relocating from the ghetto in Oklahoma City to Compton in LA? Like, is it hard to come from another city and integrate yourself into a community like Compton?
See, that's the thing. You get so brainwashed to where it doesn't. You go somewhere else, all you see is, hey, there goes some kids out there playing. You still have that type of mentality that those are kids out there, and I want to go out there and I want to play with them. I want to go out there and ride bikes. I want to meet these kids because if I live here now, I want to meet these kids. Mm-hmm. So you're going to go out there, you're going to shake hands, you're going to meet them, but you don't really care what they're doing or this or that. You're just meeting new kids in where you live now because you got to make the best of what it is. Yeah. You have no choice.
And how old were kids in Compton being, engaging in criminal activity?
Oh, you got kids 10, 11 years old, murders.
For murders?
Yeah.
Wow.
Compton, all over South Central LA. They getting locked up every single day. if you cut the news on right now, I'm sure you stay away from all.
I avoid the news like crazy. Yeah.
But if you cut the news on, every single day, there's homicide after homicide after homicide. Yeah, South Central don't even make the news.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I could bring one of my partners up here. We call him Coach. He work in the homicide division, and I talked to him in the morning. Man, I was out on 9 homicides.
9 in one night in LA, in Compton, still to these days.
And I'm talking about all over South Central.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Wow. It's
But that become a norm to you.
yeah, I mean, how thick does your skin have to be, and how desensitized to life do you have to be able to exist in a community like that?
Well, see, it used to be you used to have to exist in a community like that. But now, if you pay attention to what's going on now, it's all over in every community. It's right here in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
You see what's been going on. People walking down the street getting robbed in West Hollywood. People walking down the street getting robbed in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
You know, it's people been getting robbed and killed and cut up with chainsaws in Woodland Hill.
Chainsaws. Wow. I mean, you've grown up with all this violence around you. I mean, how are you even coping with all of it? I mean, it must. Yeah.
Read the Bible. My mother instilled that into me ever since I was little, so I still do it now. I make Eugene them read the Bible. We talk about things, and try to keep positive people. And that's, you only can do what you can do.
Keeping positive people around you, though. I mean, like, that must be hard growing up in a ghetto where probably there's a lot of despair.
Everybody's not bad, just because that's our environment. It's just like, okay, if a war break out right now and we get drafted, we got to go kill people, right? You got to make these guys your brothers because they got to watch your back. But you got lawyers, you got doctors, you got the best of everything, the best people in the world, the good people. But you got to go out here and you got to live there until the government say, okay, you got to come home now. The war is over. But you actually done killed 100 people or more. If it was 3, 5 years, whatever, you done killed a lot of people, right?
So where were you exposed to the most violence? Was it Oklahoma City or was it South Central Los Angeles?
I'm gonna say probably LA because the older you get, the more you understand things more. I was still young in Oklahoma and I tried to play sports there, but didn't really realize a lot of things that was going on because I'm like, okay, it is what it is.
It's normal. It's like, it's what you grew up with. Yeah,
exactly. So that's something that I got to work on, because a lot of times I try to help other kids or direct them, which I can because I done seen things.
Yeah.
So I know what to do and how to turn things around to work for you.
Okay. Better. So, I mean, you growing up with 15 siblings, all, I mean, were they all involved in drug trafficking? Not all of them? No. I mean, and where were your parents at this stage? You mentioned that their lives were being threatened.
My mom's ex-husband, he was a character.
Oh, you're saying that very nicely, I think. What was he really?
He beat my mom before my dad got with her. Her and him had 3 kids together. He was beating my mom, and he cut up with a butcher knife, tried to kill her because he was trying to force her to be a prostitute.
That's terrible. And you're watching this as a child.
I was.
Okay.
That was when she was with my 2 brothers and my sister. They was left on park benches numerous amount of times. My mom beaten to a pulp because she wasn't going to give it.
No, for sure.
So then she ended up meeting my dad, and they had more kids. I think they had 4 kids, and he already had, several kids by previous situations. And he was kind of like her knight in shining armor because he rescued her from her ex-husband. So when we was moving around trying to get away from all that, and she stopped in Oklahoma City, he followed her down there. And then when my other 2 brothers caught they murder cases, him and his friends they put hits out on my mom and dad. So my mom and dad had to basically build a compound and prepare themselves for war if it broke out, and they didn't want none of the kids to get involved or get hurt. But
So that's when you guys were in like your own home by yourselves. Yeah. Like a drug house though. Yeah. Without any parental supervision at all.
well, you know what's crazy? When I was 13, I ended up moving in to one of my mom's other houses by myself right before we decided to move to California. And I had my own house. And
At 13, before you can even legally drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, my brothers they was making
Wow. So they got you a car and you were just driving around in Oklahoma City at 13?
called a shut up money and car. And
Yeah. I mean, I just can't imagine growing up in that environment. So when you got to South Central Los Angeles, were you kind of like relieved that you got out of Oklahoma City with your family?
care.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what this new place was about. Came out here and was all right. Got into a few little squabs and things, and then I ended up going to spend a little time in Chicago, and I had spent a little time in Detroit.
Okay.
Then we came back to LA.
Yeah.
Same old scenario.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't really seem like it gets better. So what years was this when you were like 14? Like when were you in South Central Los Angeles?
I'm gonna say it was in the 80s,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was kind of bad. I think 87 probably was the worst year for gangbanging and murder.
Why would you say that?
It was so
Yeah. And you're just a kid at this stage, like just trying to get back and forth to school. And I mean, I mean, it just seems like you're, this innocent kid just trying to get to football practice and you're passing by murderers and drug dealers and just getting your ass kicked and you got a bottle in your head, get the shit kicked out of you at a convenience store just from being from the wrong side of town. Because you're still here.
exactly. And and the crazy thing is it haven't stopped. It's still going on. And for some reason, we turn our backs on this stuff that's going on right here in the United States. And it's not just LA, it's going on in pretty much every state. Every state, one thing I learned, almost every state, if you go to the east side, as well.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Any big city.
I don't know why the drama have to be on the east side, but it's always.
Mm. And I mean, what do you think the reason is? I mean, why are these neighborhoods, these ghettos, impossible to clean up? Why are these,
impossible to clean up? It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes people to care. It takes people to spend time with kids and help. We could sit here and say, hey, we want to help LA, but we got enough money here around. We got billionaires that live in Los Angeles. But you go to the Staples Center and you walk right out the back of the Staples Center and walk across the street.
People living in tents?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't care. We claim we care, but we don't care. The world don't care.
Yeah.
We could fix this problem if we all cared and played our part and do something.
Yeah.
Take some time. It's about time.
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to clean up Skid Row, come now you have to just work on your community. You got to work on West Hollywood with the kids that's here in West Hollywood. You got to work on the kids in Beverly Hills, Woodland Hills, because the problem now, this is a new world. These kids here is a different breed.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think with all the video games and stuff that we push Ricky off into a room and bought him these videotapes without monitoring to find out what's on these video games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we push Ricky into the bedroom. Ricky's in there playing his game while mom and dad's in the other room. Our mom and dad is not at home, but this is what Ricky's doing every day. But guess what? Little Ricky done killed 600 people before 12 o'clock lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then either the nanny or mom calls little Ricky out of his bedroom after he done killed 600 people. And then he eats his bologna sandwich, drink his juice, go right back into the room and kill 600 more before dinner time.
And then when he's 18, he goes out and buys a gun. Yeah.
Now we have Columbines and all this type of stuff. But, and I don't know if I know you be outside a lot, right? But have you seen some of these games?
No, the games, like the shooting games? Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I kind of grew up with some of them in the early days. Yeah. Yeah. But it didn't make me want to go out and buy a gun or anything like that. Also, too, I'm from Canada, so things are maybe a little bit less intense in Canada. I think there's less people, and maybe the ghettos in some of the cities are much smaller. At least there were when I grew up. Yeah. I mean, LA, I think, is its own beast, and from what you, yeah.
It is, but now that it didn't spread like COVID, now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So now we really gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do as a village and really care. Or
no. And I mean, I'm completely ignorant about this topic, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you so much about it, because I really just haven't really spent a lot of time learning about this situation. But it's, I mean, where's the city governments? Where are the police trying to do anything, or are they just kind of not even bothering?
Look, the murders, everything keeps people employed, right?
So people are getting paid to do the murdering.
Officers is getting paid to police.
Mm-hmm.
The coroner's office get paid to pick up dead bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
The funeral homes make money, and the state gets funding for whatever services they make.
Mm-hmm. So it's a vicious circle.
Everything's a vicious circle.
Yeah.
But there is no carrying them. If we cared, then each one of us go out here and spend some time with one kid and really work with that one kid. Allow him to grow up with trying to pull him out of negative type of situations and environment. If we say one lamb, one lamb, each one of us say one lamb out the flock.
Yeah, you can save an entire community.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're 14 years old in South Central Los Angeles, surrounded by all this violence. Who saved you?
It was this guy named Joseph Jennings. I was moving around a lot because I kept getting in trouble, and he came to me and he said something about you. I'm gonna put a contract hit on your life. And I ain't know what he was talking about. I thought he was talking about, doing me. So, like what? And he stayed on top of me. And no matter what I did or what I was trying to do, he started popping up. He was from Wisconsin.
Uh-huh.
He's from Wisconsin, and he started getting me involved into he had a ministry program where he was working with youths out in Atlanta and Wisconsin and Milwaukee, and he started paying me to go around with him to talk about a lot of things that happened in my life and stuff like that, and he would pay me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started traveling around with him to New York, Miami, all these places. And, he, young kid that time, I think I was like 19, but I get 4,000 here, 5,000 there. That was a lot of money back then. You know what I'm saying? So, but not only that, he was planting scenes in my mind. Do this, help this kid, go hug that kid. See, we wasn't into, back then, you could actually hug a kid without somebody calling you a child molester.
Yeah, back, yeah.
Now you can't even touch a kid, you know what I'm saying? Even though you be sincere about trying to help them, but he would tell me, we would go to a elementary school in Wisconsin, and I remember this one story, a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl. She was like maybe 11, 12 years old. And Ryan, man, he's like, T, and Joseph just sent stuff. He said, go over there and talk to her. And I was like, okay. And I went over there and started talking to her and this and that. And then she started breaking down and talking to me. And then Joseph said, put your arms around her, hug her. I'm like, Joseph, I can't hug her. You know, I'm thinking, put your arms around her. And Joseph been shot 13 times, still had 3 bullets lodged right behind his heart. And he's buffed up dude, fresh out the pan, but he was all about Christ, So I put my arms around the little girl, and I became her big teddy bear. Come to think of it, her dad, she didn't want to go home because her dad had been molesting her every single night. And this had been going on for 8 years, and ever since she was a little baby, and she chose me to open up. And so we got with the school, and hopefully, some got straightened out with that whole situation. But that little girl made me break down. I'm sorry. When you become sincere with helping these kids and stuff like that, and I guess it was more like the Holy Spirit hit me, and she was crying. I'm big, and back then I was just straight muscle. I was ripped up then, but she crying, I'm crying, everybody in it crying, and I'm hugging her and telling her it's gonna be all right, and and I think about that baby to this day, because she's in Wisconsin.
So it sounds like Joseph got you out of South Central LA and started employing you to help him and to tell your story as well. So it seems like that kind of regular employment and the ability to travel got you out of the worst of what you could have fallen into.
Well, I don't even look at it as employment. Just when he came around, it was like a vacation, and he was like, he became a father figure to me. That's basically what it was. And
where was your father and your mother at this stage when you guys moved to South Central? Were you guys all together, or were you guys?
Well, and then my dad, he started having something going on. It was my mom, my 2 brothers, my youngest brother, and then my youngest brother, he got shot down in my arms, and got his lungs blew out of his back with an AK-47.
In South Central Los Angeles, your brother got shot with an AK-47 and died in your arms. It's like the craziest shit you could think of in a movie is what you're telling me right now.
It's a day-to-day life.
Yeah. And it's a life that you don't hear about at all. Like you said, it doesn't even make the news, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. They're just letting it happen. And yeah. And I mean, if Joseph didn't come around, like, what's the worst you would have been caught up in if you had stayed in that environment?
I don't know. I'm still in that environment. We get passes on a daily. Honestly, you're in that environment. You just don't realize you are, but the wolves is out there.
Yeah.
And all it takes is for you or your wife to stop at the wrong gas station at the wrong time, And West Hollywood, lit her like.
Yeah. No, I feel like, yeah, definitely crime is all around and on the rise.
Oh,
Liz.
it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
It done ventured from just South Central. It's all over LA.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's no matter where you go right now, you gotta keep your head on swivel.
And what do you think is the reason for this kind of increase in the violence we're seeing these days? Mental health. Just one word, just bang.
It's mental health.
Yeah.
And just like the stories I'm telling you, you can take your microphone and we could go walk down the street and everybody
around violence or
exactly.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, everybody in LA got a story.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
That is sad. Yeah. You'd like to think that children can grow up, being able to walk to school without getting their asses kicked in a convenience store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, with your work with Joseph and traveling around the U.S., Atlanta and Wisconsin and things like that, in between all of that, you were still coming back to South Central Los Angeles to live with your family?
Yeah.
And what was it? I mean, what was it like? I mean, were you trying to find some regular employment? Did you even think about going to to university or anything like that? Or where was your head at?
Very good question, because I had, back then you could get a triple scholarship. I had triple scholarships to go to Oklahoma University, to play basketball, football, and baseball. At that time, I started getting involved into doing music, and my friends and stuff was doing music. So we all started going down that road. I signed a big deal with Warner Brothers, and it was like, oh, wow, you make money by just saying a few rap songs. So, that's what we all start trying to do, is rap, try to make money that way. And, that kept us out.
Yeah. I mean, because just having like some regular income where you're not being pulled into that kind of criminal world would kind of keep you out, maybe.
But I never really did criminal stuff,
but it was all around you.
No, it's around us, but a lot of us tried to do, not do harsh things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You might sell a little dope here or there, but back in the day, but we grew from that. But it was one thing. It seemed like God just gave me other opportunities. He put people like Joseph in my life. He put people like Ice-T in my life. Me and Ice-T been friends for over 40 years.
Right.
Ice-T, Shiny Shine, and they always had my back on whatever was going on, and they would help out and they look out for each other. We always looked out for each other. Mm-hmm. I can go to my mailbox and Joseph would send checks to me and just put, I love you, man. He said, keep your head up and keep moving forward. I went to film school. I went to LA recording workshop, graduated from there, in films, and we was making records, doing all that kind of stuff, made records for years and did shows, made money that way. We made all different kind of records and stuff, did tours and all that kind of stuff. I started liking films more often, really got into Alfred Hitchcock, learning how he mastered that one camera, and I just start thinking to myself, like, well, I got to do something I'm being helped. God is helping me, so I got to do something to give back. So me, my partner Eugene right here, we started putting this film together, 4 years in the making. We finally finished it. Eugene, I know Eugene probably said he ain't finished it. He gonna go back and start editing again, because we finished it up Friday. But what I did, I just put myself in a journalist type of situation. Now, I went to South Central and I gathered up the real OGs of South Central from every community and gave them, and these guys, they ain't finna talk to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
But God blessed us to get their stories and what they feel and how they want to contribute to help and slow some of these murders and killings down. So now we got Crips, we got Bloods. I'm talking about the real OGs. I'm talking about these guys. Now this is what's so amazing and tricky.
Mm-hmm.
We had a screening for them too. Mm-hmm. All these guys, we had the theater over off of Wilshire, filled up with gangster guys that murdered each other's family, and everybody was saying, "T, we're gonna need some, we're gonna need some security and this and that." And I said, "No, God's gonna secure this. He's gonna secure this because he's working something with all of us." "Oh no, we just seen this and that." I said, "No, I done pulled them out their element." And man, these guys came out, they sat down, they watched this whole movie together. And I kid you not, Eugene is my witness. Once the movie finished, because everybody knew everybody in there, mm-hmm. and it's so powerful to them because this is South Central for real. I know I call it put the guns down, World Epidemic, but this is South Central for real. That theater was crying when that movie, the whole theater. Now, we're talking about tough gangster guys that done killed like 40, 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
These guys done did 40, 50 years in the penitentiary.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in there was crying.
So, from being 14 in South Central Los Angeles, surrounded by violence, to being 19 working with Joseph, who seems to be in a lot of ways a savior for you, to then kind of going through a musical career and then into documentary films. It's quite spectacular that you managed to kind of navigate your way through this incredibly hellish childhood where you were just surrounded by violence all the time. I mean, is it a miracle that you kind of escaped all of this, or are there others out there like you who kind of managed to navigate it?
See, I don't know where your faith lies, what you believe in. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I believe he had his hand on me since day one, and he had a mission for me to complete. And the mission was for me to go through what I went through and to pull together a village, a team of individuals that really care about these young kids and want to help save these young kids' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to bring that together, and I brung this together in this film, and that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to continue to work and try to save these kids and get these kids help, try to one step at a time.
And do you think one of the main culprits of perpetuating this kind of violence and this kind of behavior is just the lack of like a positive male figure in some of these kids' lives? Because it sounds like Joseph was a positive male figure for you when you needed it most. And it sounds like a little bit what you're trying to do now is go back into the community and care about these kids and listen to their problems. And
it take all of it. It takes males, females. You got to mother some of these kids. You got to father some of these kids. I call them our kids, and it's all of our responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. It's everybody's.
Yeah.
But we have a choice to do it or not.
And yeah, I mean, if we can't just ignore the community just a few blocks away just because we don't live there, because
it's here now.
Yeah.
It's here now. So we got to work every community now.
Mm-hmm.
God is showing you that, okay, what you going to do now? What you guys going to do? You going to keep turning your back? What you going to do?
Because that hasn't worked.
Out of control.
Yeah.
Look, you can't even go into a jewelry store You can't go into a grocery store, clothing store. These kids is coming in groups and they robbing you. They robbing everybody in the store. They do not care. Broad daylight, early in the morning. Me and Eugene works for Beverly Hills, and they getting hit in the jewelry stores at 10 o'clock in the morning.
In Beverly Hills? Wow.
They breaking out the windows with hammers at 10 in the morning. They every store up and down Wilshire have been robbed. The jewelry store has been robbed. It was I don't know if you heard about it. You know where a couple of guys were sitting out eating food with his wife and stuff. You know how we have where you can sit down and eat. Walk right up, rob them right there, broad daylight.
Wow. And this is
in brunch.
And this is happening all over the city.
This is what I'm telling you.
Yeah. You know, I've only lived here for about 7 months. So I grew up in Canada, and then I lived in China for many, many years, like 18 years. And then I was in Dubai for quite a while, which is actually a pretty safe place, actually. So is China. And then coming to LA, you're definitely confronted with a whole different reality, right? And a whole different way of looking at the world and looking at the way violence spreads.
If you open up a newspaper, I know you don't just watching the news for 5 minutes, your wife probably tell you, Ryan, cut that off, turn that off, because it will get to you after.
Yeah.
And
is that desensitization, is that part of it? Like, it's just so much that we think that we all just assume that it's not fixable. It's like it's a problem that no one can tackle.
Ryan, we're not trying to. We turning our backs on it.
Yeah.
We turn our backs and we think it's just, oh well, it's not my situation, not my problem. It's gonna become your problem.
Right.
Walk down the street with your wife and see if it's not gonna become your problem. But see, it's okay as long as it don't happen to me right now. But when it happened to you, then you want everybody to get involved and you want everybody to help because this should not.
Yeah, but by then it's too late.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how long, so you didn't go to university even though you had scholarship opportunities for sporting? No.
I needed somebody to make me go and be firm. And that happens with a lot of kids. Mm. You got to have that uncle. You got to have somebody to make you stick with that and finish.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to do with my son. I would make them finish because I know that's what I needed.
Yeah. No, it's not easy to, you do need that push, right?
You have to have it.
Yeah.
You have to have it. And this is the thing. The problem is time. That one word, time. Spending time with your kid will make all the difference in the world. That word, just in your household, if you have a kid, you spend some time with them. Make them cut that game off. Make them cut the television off. Put that cell phone down. One of my pet peeves is walking into a restaurant and a family's there and the kids is on their cell phones and this and that. What? Look at where we done grew to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even spend time with your family.
And you think it's like this kind of disconnection and this lack of like contact and
AI, we turning into robots.
Yeah.
We don't even know who our own kids are.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. How are you going to go out here and help somebody else's kid? Because when I go into the expensive restaurant, you don't even have your kid. Your kids is going to be the ones that's going to be on the evening news tomorrow night at 7.
Because they haven't had enough adult time or parental time, and they don't know the difference between right and wrong, or.
Well, the parents, the mom and dad is not. They can't even communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
If you, one thing I could remember back in the day with my mom and dad, when my dad came home from work and my mom came home from work, and she had cooked dinner back when we was all together, we set our butts down at the table. We fed our father. He fixed his plate first and everybody else fixed their plate. We sat down as a family, we ate that dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked. See?
Yeah, that never happens anymore.
I could know. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't even know your own kids.
Mm-hmm.
And people going to get upset. Oh, I can't believe he said that. But because they know their kids is in that restaurant playing the games. But I'm going to challenge every mother and father out there. Next time you go to a restaurant, next time you guys have family time, or if you're not having family time, create family time. And when you go to that restaurant, make everybody put their phones away.
Mm-hmm.
Learn who your wife is.
Mm-hmm.
Learn who your son is. Learn who your daughter is.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them questions. What's going on in school?
Yeah. Make them feel connected in some way, shape, or form.
You gotta make that connection. They are more connected to those video games and those cell phones. It's just out of control right now.
It is. From a distance, it looks pretty terrible, actually.
Kids don't even want to go outside and do anything, like run up and down the street, go ride a horse. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We're so out of touch.
So, I mean, I'm just trying to I'm trying to understand how you became this wise and this kind of experienced in this whole spirit. Like, so you're working with Joseph, you're visiting, you're helping people, right? I think that's really where it starts for you, right? Recognizing the problem and knowing that the solution is really to listen, to spend time with people, to be a positive influence in people's lives, right? I think you got that from Joseph at 19. And then you decided not to go to university. I mean, what were you doing after that in the community? Is that when you started getting into music? Is that when you started?
Yeah, I got into music, but honestly, we'll go back, Ryan. I think it was the whole journey. Honestly, I think it took the whole journey for me to learn about this, see my brothers, saw what my mom then was going through, because I was paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Then, my little brother got smoked. A lot of my friends got murdered. That was just a normal thing. Every time you turn around, somebody you knew was getting murdered.
Yeah.
Murder means murder.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, how do you even process that at such a young age? Where you've got, but you become almost desensitized to the violence. Like there's no stopping it. You're just in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you probably have to also be violent in order to survive it. Like you have to defend yourself. You have to take care of your family.
Yeah. You have to be able to do that. You're going to fight. Fighting is a must growing up in urban communities. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get caught in the crossfires of shootouts. You might get stabbed a few times. It just depends. It just depends on what you walk into on that particular. And it don't happen to everybody. There's some people that they haven't had any problem.
Yeah.
God touched them a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like God touched me in a certain way so I could know what to do now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was all a part of my journey.
Did getting into music help you kind of communicate and reach more people than if you were just working, with one child at a time, or working, with Joseph in one community at a time? Because maybe talking about some of this stuff through music maybe allowed you to, connect in a wider way.
Well, see, this is the thing. My thoughts was back then, I wasn't just trying to fix kids like that.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph started me to focusing on that. So whenever he came around, that's what I was doing. But when he wasn't around, I was into music. I was still into sports. Like if I had leisure time, I'm out playing basketball. I go play football.
Were you working at this stage?
I was making money elsewhere, doing a lot of other.
Yeah, but legitimate employment is almost impossible to come by, or was it something that was accessible?
Legitimate employment. We was doing music. That was legitimate employment that came to me, and just people like Joseph was helping me out with a lot of things. I wasn't out robbing, stealing. I ain't never robbed a person before in my life. I don't believe in taking nobody else's stuff. I don't steal. I don't do any of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I ain't never been a thief. I don't like robbers. I believe you have to get out here, and my daddy always told me, get out there and work for what you want. and getting a job wasn't nothing to me. I'll go get a job. I'll work,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I always had that soft spot for people because on the inside of me, I cared about people.
Yeah.
I didn't like to see people get hurt. I had a lot of fights by bullies trying to bully somebody else.
Yeah. You were take and defend someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what was the community like around music at that time that you were kind of getting involved in? Yeah. Was this like early 90s, like when it became really popular, like
Yeah.
that kind of, yeah. Yeah. Because obviously like guys like, you know, Ice-T and things like that, like I grew up in Canada and, you know, I had heard of Ice-T and listened to his music or NWA and things like that, you know, Dr. Dre and his whole team and the way they, you know, Ice Cube, and they would talk about living and growing up in the kinds of environments that you're talking about, but it seemed like an entire world away. Yeah.
Now it's right in your.
Now it's right in my backyard. Yeah, and it's interesting to be able to you know, speak with someone who has survived it or kind of come through it and seen it for what it is, right?
Oh yeah, but you know, a lot of people see it as unnormal, but to us, it's normal.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you? I mean, you said like there's a real mental health problem that is at the root of everything that's kind of going on, and do you think that those mental health issues around it that we're dealing with now, is that because people are just growing up surrounded by so much violence?
Honestly, I think we captured by every community mental health situation that's been impactful on their kids, whether you come from a polished community,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the kids from the polished, like let's say like the Beverly Hills, the Woodland Hills, Malibu, those areas like that. Okay, well, mom and dad, my same type of situation. Yeah, you in a nice environment, but mom and dad, because they out working to keep this Malibu home. Now, guess what? It's more drugs in the Malibu home than it is in South Central.
Yeah, no, I believe that for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, because the kids, they keep that on the hush.
Yeah.
Right here in Beverly Hills.
Plenty of guns too.
You know, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, we just keep things quiet
Mm-hmm.
because, and I know for a fact about a lot of big time attorneys here that cover up their kids' mess and everything else, but did it make the problem go away just because you made the newspapers not write about it and this and that? No, little Johnny is still in there thinking about going out murdering somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And it's right here.
So you seem to be really communicating this idea of it's really like a societal issue that we're facing right now, where families are becoming more disconnected because of technology or other things, but families just aren't that cohesive unit that they were 50, 60 years ago, right? And
Exactly.
and children just aren't getting the attention and the connection to their parents and siblings. Is this where your argument's coming from here?
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay. What year did America have the highest divorce rate?
That's a good
No.
question. No, I don't know. You gonna hit me with this?
It's easy. COVID.
COVID time, huh? Okay. Yeah, no, I believe that. COVID was a shit show, right?
You know why?
Because people were locked up in their homes and they couldn't stand each other.
You didn't know who your wife was, or she didn't know who her husband was.
Right.
And she started asking herself, who is this monster?
Yeah.
And he's looking at her like, oh my God. And then you looking at the kids, because now you locked up in there with the kids and the kids is going nuts, and you're like, who is these little monsters?
When everyone's super busy and everyone's just passing everyone at night, you know, or in the morning, you don't really pay too much attention.
It was like being incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't know who those people was. And a lot of families broke up. Check the statistics on that. You see.
Yeah.
Okay, so it explains everything now. So as soon as they raised the door, everybody went and got away from each other. But we still call that family, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know each other.
Yeah.
And what equals what's the equivalent factor to that? What is it? What would be the answer to that?
Just not knowing who your family members are, like not paying attention.
You never spend time with. It's that one word called time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you keep coming back to time.
It's time. How much? Okay, if COVID gave me a divorce, evidently I wasn't spending enough time with my wife. Evidently I wasn't spending enough time with my kids. Because I don't know these kids. I don't know this wife that I married. And I've been with her 30 years.
But you lock each other, you try to lock each other up for a few months and you get to know, right?
Oh, it's over. It's over. We need a divorce.
Yeah. And the kids are growing up in that environment.
They don't know you. They don't know you. They only know the video games. They only know the cell phone.
Or their iPads.
Or
yeah.
iPads. It's time.
So, I mean, do you think this disconnection that kids have from their parents is really the root cause of some of these mental health issues? Because we're not psychiatrists or doctors, are we? You're not a doctor, are you? I didn't ask.
What is a doctor?
Yeah, I mean someone who goes to school for a long time.
What is a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
But so let's see, this is the thing. And the only thing a doctor or a psychiatrist can do is read a book and read one's theory, because that's all it is. A book is nothing but one man's theory of what he feels, right? That don't mean that's what it is, correct?
Correct.
So we are doctors. We are therapists, and we have lived that beautiful word that we call life. Life experience.
So, I mean, have you seem to have come to terms with the fact that you've been through this incredibly eventful life where you've done many, many things. And now, I mean, it seems like you're completely committed to kind of giving back to your community and trying to care and give these kids the attention that they need, that they might not be getting from home, and trying to actually engage with them. And are you accepted in that role, or are you like, do all of these communities or all these children accept having this kind of influence of someone like yourself who's been through it all? Or is it, or are you getting pushback?
Well, this is the thing. I only can play my part. That's the reason why I said before, it takes a village. It takes you. There's things that you can do. I was amazed with a lot of things that I saw you do.
Yeah, I would climb some mountains and stuff.
My point exactly. But I'm like, wow. Man, Eugene both was like, wow. You know, we was looking at you all over the world, you know, traveling, China, you know, Belize, Brazil, you know, that stuff's amazing.
It does make you a little bit disconnected from your local community, though. So I think in traveling all around like that,
this is the thing. When you out there, something is going through your head, something is going through your mind. Somebody's touching you, whether you realize it or not. Because if God wasn't touching you, you couldn't climb that mountain.
No, I probably wouldn't be around.
If God didn't have his hand on you, you couldn't put that snake around your neck like I saw you doing.
It was Morocco.
I saw a lot of stuff. You did a lot of amazing stuff, Ryan, that, man, kids would love to hear you talk. It's just given that we're going to go back to that word again. We need Ryan to give some time. Okay, Ryan, go do what he do. But you know what? I saw a lot of stuff you did with a lot of the people in those areas. You touched a lot of those people. So you are doing this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do it globally.
Well, you're doing it.
Yeah,
you're doing it. Go back through your press and look at the smiles that you made people smile. And you got to really think those people over there they in poverty. Poverty. You put a smile on their face. Look at the picture. The picture is not going to lie to you. You put a smile on their face. You touch them. They probably hadn't smiled in years.
Maybe.
But you put a smile. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
brother, you doing it. You're doing it just like I'm doing it. You're just doing it in a different way.
I appreciate that, but there's much less violence around, surrounded by where I'm doing, though.
Brother, is it no? You Sao Paulo and places in Brazil?
Yeah.
No, no. It's the violence is everywhere. See, when we hear Chicago, South Central, and we just we hear about it so much, you know, and you got to understand these are big cities. But when you hear about places like Sao Paulo, China, man, they got some stuff going on, but you're going over there where poverty is just, you know, stricken. I mean, and you put a smile on their face. That's all it takes to be able to smile for 5 minutes. That's all it. But you brought that the same way I'm trying to bring other things, and that gives people to want to live and move forward and say, hey, if that guy right there, I guarantee you go back, you're going to where, Peru?
I've been to Peru, I filmed in Peru,
I know people that came from Peru. I know how poverty-stricken it is over there.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, there's violence everywhere. There's poverty everywhere, and you just try to connect.
It's that we just talking about mine. I could start interviewing you, and we'll, you know, we can flip the script.
Absolutely, I don't mind. You can ask away. But how did you come up with this idea of making this documentary about putting the guns down? Like, how did you even think, like, okay, now I'm going to make a documentary film and interview, the most hardcore OGs, like you said, like, original gangsters of South Central Los Angeles, and bring them together in one story that you and Eugene crafted?
I'm going to tell you, you just said it a few minutes ago. This is what I did. Now, did I get pushback? I said, okay, well, I will get pushback because I got to deal with these other. I'm gonna flip the script of what you do. We're gonna call them villages, which that's a different gang. This is a blood gang. This is a Crip gang. This is a Mexican mafia gang. This is a Samoan gang. This is Cambodian. This is a Chinese gang. This is a white gang. So if I'm from a certain neighborhood, like you said, these other ones not going to listen to me, right? So what I got to do, I got to make a pot of gumbo, create a pot of gumbo, and figure out how to bring everybody from these different tribes together, including the community activists that's all over the city that's actually out there doing the work, right? And then I got to tell the history to really get a clear understanding how all this stuff was created, what's going on. And we got to talk about the drugs. We got to talk about the way blacks feel, the way Mexicans feel, the way everybody feel. Give them that opportunity to speak. And then we brought it all together. That's what I mean by cooking it in a pot like gumbo. We talked about mental health. We talked about the kids getting murdered in our streets. We talked about the drugs, the gangs, the music, the video games, all that, and let everybody have their opportunity. And we created that.
Giving people the time to speak.
See, why do we keep going back to that same word?
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing no one has, right?
Exactly.
Time.
So what this film, and that's what makes this is, I know I called it Put the Guns Down, a World Epidemic, but it's really South Central Los Angeles. That's what the film is based on, and the history of South Central, but it has all those ingredients in it. When you sit down and watch it, it's very educational. I'm telling you, I demand for the President of the United States, his wife, Carmela, Trump, they really need to watch this film if they want to talk about gun violence prevention, this and that. In order for you to speak about those type of things, you need to sit down and educate yourself with what's going on in these communities.
Mm-hmm.
So what this is Los Angeles first treat. And what I want to do, I want to turn it into a series to where I could show you okay, this is Los Angeles. I want to do a part 2 to the series that I sent you, which I don't want to talk it and tell you all.
Yeah, I feel like a teaser.
Yeah, so the next part of the series is going to show a lot different nationalities that's locked up for murder, and what's going on with their families and their lives, how, because it's going to show you that when you pull that gun out and pull that trigger and that bullet comes out that barrel and it hits a person, it destroyed that person's life, his family's lives, and it destroys.
Confirm. Yeah, the repercussions are huge.
Exactly. So on the second part of the series, I want to show that part where they're going through what they're going through, because the first part of the series shows you what the families and mothers that children was hit by those bullets.
So for Put the Guns Down, the current documentary that you're talking about, like, I mean, what even made you want to try to tell this story? I mean, you grew up in it, so you're connected to it, and it seems like you've been spending a huge amount of time, your time, going back into the community and trying to connect with people and make a difference and give people time and talk and listen and make people feel valued. And this is all, seems like this is the recipe for trying to overcome some of this. And this is what I'm getting from you. But then to make a documentary film is an entirely different beast to helping out in your community. Like it's a huge undertaking. I mean, what even made you want to try to tell that story?
Well, that's the thing. It ain't me. It's God telling me, made me and Eugene to start this lane 4 years ago and start putting this together. Because what the documentary is going to do, it's not just telling our story, but it's going to be to the point to where everybody is going to be listening to what South Central is doing. How is South Central saving lives in their community? What is going on out there? How are they coping with it? And then it gives you an example of the realness of what's taking place. We have one of the young men that I gotta introduce you to.
Yeah.
Man, his name is Gabriel. You know, Gabriel the angel is a healing angel in the Bible.
Okay, I'm familiar with that, yeah.
Watch when you see the movie, when you see the documentary. Well, Gabriel was 22 years old, and he's so full of love now. He just finished football practice. This guy pulled up, asked him for directions, and as soon as Gabriel raised his hand up, all Gabriel could remember, because he was getting ready to tell him directions and stuff, but all Gabriel could remember, he was fiddling down, trying to find out what was going on. Well, the guy pulled out a gun, shot Gabriel through his temple, and blew both his eyeballs out. I mean, literally exploded out of his head. And Gabriel was on the ground, didn't know what was going on. Ambulance, everybody comes. Everybody had left Gabriel for dead. They carried him to the hospital. The doctors thought he was in a coma. Mm-hmm. Gabriel was sitting there listening to everything that was going on, and they said he'll probably last an hour or two, but, getting prepared to go to the morgue, this, that. Gabriel just was start praying to God, saying, God, have mercy on me. Gabriel loves Jesus. Everybody gave up on Gabriel. Gabriel survived. And in my film, He raises his glasses. He show you what that event left him with.
Yeah. But he was alive.
He's alive, and he have forgiven the person that shot him. He's always telling everybody how much he loves them.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a wonderful person.
It just seems like such a random act of violence, though. Like someone just driving around and asks you for directions and then shoots someone for giving you directions. Like there's no predisposition to that act of violence. Like that's just insane.
If you right here in West Hollywood, go to the 7-Eleven, car pulls up and asks you where you from, I advise you to take off running.
Yeah, you've said that a few times. If anyone asks you where you're from or what's going on, just go. Yeah. And so I guess the desire of doing this documentary film was to tell stories like Gabriel's.
What the documentary is there for is to open people's eyes to what's going on in our society. It's the documentary film is asking yourself, myself, to come together and start taking these young people serious. And what's that word we keep going back to? Time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your kids in your own house, start there. Start in your own house with your own kids. Start communicating with them. Start communicating with your wife. Because it's a lot of wives killing their husbands, a lot of husbands killing their wives. Our society is.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Show us.
Yeah, like the number one person to do a violent act against a woman, like is her husband. Like again, someone you share a life with, right? That's insane.
Yeah, it was I think back in the summer, a judge shot his wife and killed her in the house.
Mm.
You know, that story is going on, but every day is something like that. But it's these acts of violence it's mental health.
Who do you think's benefiting from no one doing anything about this? Like, because it just seems like everyone's turning a blind eye, right?
But see, that's because we feel like it's not happening to us right now. And we got to get that out of our minds. And we can't point fingers at nobody because we're all guilty of it. Because, okay, I'm going to challenge you. After this here, go talk to your wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, simple conversation.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's as easy as that? Like, I mean, can you
starter, right?
It's
a starter. We don't even do that anymore. We don't come home from whatever. Sweetheart, how are you doing? I just want to hear how you are really feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. And let me give my full attention to you. If you got kids, go to each one of their room and give them a little time. Is it going to hurt you to give each one of your kids 10 minutes?
Not at all, no.
It might save your life, right?
Yeah. I've
noticed this.
Yeah. Have you seen an increase in crime and an increase in mental health issues in your own community and stuff like that since COVID? Has that been a huge accelerator?
Well, see, it's been in my community. That ain't no new condition. It's all over the place now.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it now.
It seems like COVID is really, it's just...
COVID just showed us who we are and what type of society we have grown to.
And it's not pretty.
It's like Michael Jackson's song. We finally got to look at that man in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Now we got to change our ways, right? Sure. That's what we got to do. In order to fix this, it takes all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Because and it starts in your own household. Fix your own household.
Mm-hmm.
Then look at your community. Look at your neighbors. If it's anything that you can help. You know what I'm saying? And a simple conversation. You might see a man out there standing by the tree. He might be getting ready to rob and burn the building up, right? But if you go out there and just tell him, good morning, how are you doing? That might change the game right there.
Just any connection with any human being, and we're probably better off.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. How have you seen the mental health issues and the violence in South Central Los Angeles through this whole COVID process? Have you seen it increase or
It increased everywhere.
no?
It increased everywhere.
And is that part of the motivation for doing the documentary film? Is using that as a catalyst?
Well, that's the beginning start of. I had to. South Central have been the deadliest city in Los Angeles.
Maybe the entire country. Is it a toss up? Maybe
Right
yeah.
now, Chicago and Louisiana, they, it's bad.
Right.
But this is the thing. Okay, so I live in Los Angeles, so this is my thoughts was, well, I'm gonna start with this documentary to show the world what's going on in South Central Los Angeles, because everybody want to know, hey, what's going on in LA, South Central? Well, I got that. That's what this documentary is basically about. It tells you the history. It runs you through the history, and these are real goon characters that's in this film, and they very well known.
And what kind of support did you get from the community in South Central Los Angeles to tell this story? I mean, I know you told me you made a pot of gumbo and you invited everyone to come in.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy because, see, I was from a different area there. Eugene was from a different area there, which is crazy. Eugene was from the blood side. I was from the Crip side.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't supposed to be together. We ain't supposed to be affiliated like that, but this is one of my I trust this man with my life. But for positive movements and positive things, you find out that everybody they see these kids live, regardless of the things that we went through back in our times and stuff, because we didn't understand a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But now we want them to have opportunity to live. Because a lot of the stuff that they're doing right now, it just don't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to understand who benefits from this violence that's continued. I mean,
the penitentiary system is a business.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
It's a business. The coroner's office is a business. They get paid for everybody comes in there. It's a business.
I had a parole officer and a former prison guard actually on the podcast a few weeks ago, and it was fucking shocking, some of the stories he was telling me of stuff that he's seen in prison, and then of course how the parole system is completely slanted.
Mm-hmm.
And basically there just to make sure these people go back to jail.
It's a business.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why our society is the way it is now. And it's going to get worse if we don't stand up and start caring about it.
Yeah.
And right now, they don't care if it's broad daylight or what. And these are young kids, and they running up in your house doing home invasions. What was that, Woodland Hills? 2 days ago, they tied up 6 people. And, it's broad daylight.
Yeah. And this is what your documentary wants to show, is that this kind of violence is just...
See, that's the thing. That's why it had to be a series.
Mm-hmm.
We have to come together and develop more documentaries like this, because if you could sit back and you can say, wow, that's amazing right there. So I should go out here and do this right here and this right here. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's a series, because they ain't going to listen to just you talk. They ain't going to just listen to me talk. Just like you said, you're going to get pushback. Mm-hmm. But if I got this documentary and I got like 16, 17 people coming from different directions, different angles, I got a lot of the West Coast hip hop music artists, entertainers and stuff on here, and they telling you this, that, and the other. You're going to listen to somebody on this document.
So something will touch you.
Something is going to touch you. And I'm telling you, when you get an opportunity, watch it. Just watch the documentary and hear man say, T, man, this right here, this right here. But it ain't about me. It ain't about nothing else. It's about, this is a learning tool. Let's put this out there and see if we can slow down some of these homicides.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make another series and see if we can touch some more and touch some more. And if we could be over in Brazil, wherever, all the places that you touch, let's start putting out stuff that's going to slow down crime, homicides, give people that peace. Just like the things you do, man. You out there, just like an inmate would say, while you out there, Ryan, FaceTime me on my burner so I could see you climb that mountain. Because a lot of inmates, because my cousins and them do me the same way, they just want you to drive down the street so they could just see the trees, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll never see that ever in life again.
Yeah. I mean, was your life ever at risk trying to put together this documentary? Like, I'm just trying to understand personally what you've been through to try to make a...
Honestly, every day our life is at risk, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk through that front door, your life is at risk.
Mm-hmm.
My life is at risk. Going through the community, you're always at risk.
Yeah. But you went out of your way to interview gang members, like, and well-known gang members.
But see, that sounds scary to some, but that's the norm for me. I grew up with the hardest criminals in the world around my breakfast table.
Yeah, your family, your brothers, yeah.
So I live with them.
What was one of the? I mean, did you find any thread, continuous thread that went through some of the people that you interviewed in South Central Los Angeles about why things are as bad as they are? Like, was there one or two things that kept coming up, conversation after conversation that you could point to or hit on?
Well,
because most people just think it's a mess and don't even know where to begin, right?
Let's see, that's the thing. That's the thing. You're exactly right. But that's the reason why I'm saying, honestly, Ryan, you gotta watch this documentary. You gotta see it for what it really is, and then you tell me what you got out of it. And the next person watch it. Everybody's gonna find something that they're gonna be like, man, this blew me away. This blew me away. It don't stop. It gives you the history, but it don't stop. It's gonna teach you about everything, from the guns to everything, the music, the murders. It's going to teach you about everything.
It's almost like you're using this documentary as a call to action.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's the reason why I said the president of the United States need to sit down. Him and his team need to sit down, and they need to watch this, because a lot of times we get so out of touch with things, and the people that we hire to go out and bring this type of knowledge or this to me, they're out of touch. They're not with the real people that's out here. But one thing I tell you about this documentary, this is the streets for real.
I think maybe beyond just the president of the United States or in their team, I mean, also too, I think a lot of journalists and people who report the news would probably do well by watching a documentary like yours, because I feel like too many people just talk about gun violence as being a problem with guns, right? I think not enough people are actually unfolding the real issues behind gun violence, like mental health and isolation and all these things like you've talked about, just kids growing up with no time with actual other human beings, feeling connected and part of a community, right? And then they can easily get a gun and then they just go off and they do crazy things because they've never had that connection or that someone who cared about them or spent time with them, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, everyone's avoiding that topic.
Exactly. Yeah. And we touch bases on everything. I guarantee you're going to be like, man, you didn't miss a beat on this one. Mm-hmm. You did not miss a beat. I'm telling you, we should win every award there is with this one. Mm-hmm. And, if you don't understand it, watch it again. Mm-hmm. But you will come back with something.
And where are you at the moment with the documentary film? You mentioned you just finished editing. I mean, are you going to apply to some film festivals and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. My team is applying for film festivals as we speak. We looking for a distribution deal right now.
Mm-hmm.
We already received one offer from Peacock.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I hadn't finished the film yet, so I told my manager that I wanted to finish the film before I entertained anything. So we'll go back to Peacock, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to see what uh, they can bring to the table on a distribution deal, because I got a game plan and I got a business proposal where I want to hit every university from here to New York and be able to go into whatever state that is and interview and show you what's going on. If this is Chicago, if this is New York, Atlanta, because every state has different problems and issues. And I want to compare it to the school system, because we've been having university problems. We have elementary, and if on this tour we hit some middle schools, etc., because the whole movement of the tour is trying to save young lives, to get these young kids back to thinking. And then hopefully some of the parents would join in and start talking to their kids and opening up that door, because the next film will be put the cell phones and iPads down. Let's have a one-on-one conversation.
So it sounds like you really do need to get the word out. And I'm wondering, obviously a lot of people follow celebrities, a lot of people follow athletes, a lot of people follow musicians. There's an incredible amount of wonderfully talented people who have come out of South Central Los Angeles over the decades and built up wonderful careers. I mean, how have they responded to your project? I mean, because obviously, some of the musicians and some of these incredible athletes, like having them on your side to get the word out as well would be very valuable.
You said that. It's a lot of the platinum hip hop artists that's actually in the film.
Oh, they're part of your interview.
They're in the film.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of them. It's too many to name, but it's a lot of them. You'll see that when you watch the
film. Yeah, I mean, because again, to grow up in that environment and be able to get out of it and then have a career and build it up. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these people definitely want to give back and help a project like yours.
Oh yeah, they actually did, and I think it'll be a great learning tool when you watch the film. What Ice-T, Spice One, Cocaine, Chili Chill from Ice Cube's Lynch Mob. We got Compton's Most Wanted, DJ Quick. His son is in there, which I think he's on murder charges now. But self-defense. But it's a lot. It's a lot of them that's actually in the film already, and they got a lot to say. So I just really truly encourage everybody to demand this film at all your local theaters and your networks and stuff, and say, hey, we need to get behind this thing. We need to support this, and really watch the documentary and push for the series. I need everybody pushing to not only this part of the series, but we need to get the second and the third part of the series going and get that done as well, because I think it will save a lot.
And beyond just watching the film and educating ourselves, it's also too about finding the time to give back and connect with people, right?
Yeah.
It's always a tough transition to make, right? Between knowing something and learning something and then actually putting it into fucking practice.
Yeah, that's it. That is it.
Yeah. I mean, are you optimistic that what you're trying to build and the movement you're trying to build and the story you're trying to tell, are you optimistic that it can have the influence that you're looking for?
Oh, it already have.
Yeah.
It already have. If I play it in any theater, it blows everybody away. We was with Curtis Blow, his wife, Bill Overton, Jane Kennedy's husband.
Mm-hmm.
we was right down the street, riding over on Wilshire, and she say, T, I couldn't stop crying. You just had me crying through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
She said, it's just so good. It's just so good. I was like, well, that's what it's about, is being impactful. So now let's go.
That's the step I'm thinking is going to be the hardest, right? Because people are still selfish. People are still distracted. People are still, not communicating and kind of obsessed in their own space, right? I think what you are really getting to the heart of, and I'm putting these words in your mouth, but you correct me if I'm wrong. You really need to get people out of their own head,
Yeah,
and back into community.
exactly.
And there's nothing that we've destroyed more in the last 20 years than our sense of community.
Community and family lifestyle.
Yeah,
in our own homes.
completely destroyed.
Exactly.
And you're hoping that this can kind of help repair that. Fucking needs repairing though, doesn't it?
Man, it's a mess out here, right?
It's a mess everywhere. I don't know.
It really is.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, we might be around the same age, growing up in the 70s and early 80s and stuff like that. But I really feel like our parents' generation was maybe a little bit less complicated, where they had less technology around them and they were just kind of less busy all the time. I feel like now we, in kind of where we've been in the last 20 years, it's so easy to be kind of completely disconnected all the time. And I know there's, multi-billion-dollar technology companies that make huge amounts of money from us being miserable and distracted all the time. But it's really destroying our fabric of community.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I think they want that. They don't want to see stuff like this documentary to come out, because, he's trying to desensitize what we done already programmed into everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stop him. Don't ever let that go.
I mean, are you going to have screenings in South Central Los Angeles? Are you going to try to bring all these communities together? Like you mentioned, you already had one screening on a theater in Wilshire, and you did bring some of these communities to Wilshire, like out of South Central. But are you going to go, back into South Central with this film and really try to show it locally and get people to even consider thinking in a different way?
Oh yeah. We already working with USC right now,
Mm-hmm.
USC and UCLA, of setting up screenings at both universities.
Yeah. No, that would be a huge step forward, because like you said, if it's, when you've got a message to share, it's important to kind of get it out and to put it in front of the people, I guess, who need to see that, to hear that message more than anyone, which I think is children and adults, right? It's like it's everyone in the spectrum needs to kind of get their head around it.
And in every community.
Yeah.
In every single community. South Central definitely need to be there, but right now it need to be in every community.
Yeah.
Because this is a major problem everywhere right now.
Yeah. And how this disconnection and disassociation with our own communities is just leading to rampant violence.
Yeah.
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 Where do you see this kind of toss up between mental health and accessibility to weapons? I mean, because, you've grown up in this community, your whole life. I mean, you've seen every gun under the sun, you've seen people be murdered. I mean, do you think accessibility to weapons is part of the problem? Or do you just think if we all just spend a little more time with each other, but the weapons are still there, nothing, we can repair the community? I'm just wondering, because there's a lot of accessibility to weapons, and
Exactly.
and that's always been the case, and it just feels like, so coming from a country like the United Arab Emirates, I lived in Dubai for a few years, and then China as well. There's no personal gun ownership, right, in those countries, so they end up being quite safe, and of course the disassociation and the lack of community, et cetera, is just as prevalent there as it is here. But there's just people don't have the accessibility to act out some of their violent tendencies, perhaps because there's not weapons readily available. I'm just wondering what your take on that might be.
Well, I'm kind of Me, I try to just be a journalist in between that because I really don't like to put myself in the middle of that question because, either side you stand on, you push.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's way too political, but it doesn't need to be, right? I mean, I just think like,
Well, I'm going to answer that question like this. Sometimes we have to be safe with things.
mhm.
And I feel like we got to work on the mental health part because I'm going to just say I've never seen a gun jump up in the air and shoot somebody.
All by itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and the mental health starts in our own homes. I'm going back to that same word I keep coming back to is spending time with your spouse, spending time with your kids. And then once you get your household in order, then extend it to the rest of the
Community by community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if each one teach one.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is the problem is obviously massive, but if we start in our own homes and start in
somewhere,
it is kind of something that can be solved or can be at least attempted to be better, right?
What did we do with COVID? It had to start somewhere, right? You got to go back to that, and you got to look how devastating that was.
How much of the violence that you see in South Central Los Angeles, for example, is kind of connected to this, just these high divorce rates, kids growing up without parents? I mean, how much of it do you see as that pushing forward this continued violence and this continued kind of disconnection and disassociation with community and society?
Well, most of the divorce rates and stuff like that didn't happen in South Central. That happened in other communities. With the COVID thing. In South Central, most of the kids and stuff, they probably grew up with grandma or grew up with mother. Pops was already incarcerated, or some kids grew up in foster care.
Right, yeah.
So they never really had that leadership except for whatever comfort they found out on the streets.
And that seems like the problem right there is that, these kids just don't have role models, right?
Well, they role models and the proper upbringing with, in a lot of situations, but it's a lot of kids in South Central that did have that, had the full family support, mom, dad, and they did well. Some even with grandmas. Some kids was just determined to do right and then take care of their brothers and sisters and stuff like that. South Central is a beautiful place. They got a lot of beautiful people there, but it's just that we have different type of situations. A lot of kids come from broken homes. A lot of kids come from foster care. It's the truth. And then you mix that up with other kids just going out trying to do whatever, and they befriend them. In the community, it is what it is. Kids is going to get caught up in the stuff, because they're kids. Boys is knuckleheads. They're going to be knuckleheads. And then you eventually grow up out of it if you have that opportunity to grow up, and keep.
Which sounds like a real lucky opportunity if you can even get out of that.
Oh yeah, well, it's a lot that pass the gates, but we just have so many different elements in every community, and to me, it's all the same thing, whether it's a good community or a South Central community. You got kids struggling and going through things because of guidance, because of parents or somebody is not spending enough time with that kid.
Yeah.
And I don't care what community you go to. It's the same most.
And that's going to be a problem.
Look at it right now.
Yeah.
You can't go to a restaurant without it. They've been running up in restaurants, robbing restaurants. You go to a clothing store, they running into Macy's in every neighborhood, Woodland Hills, Northridge, Beverly Hills. They running up in these stores and they robbing the stores early in the morning, jewelry stores.
Sure. I think a lot of residents, for example, and they would put pressure on their political appointees and they would maybe suggest that we need more cops, right? Or more police officers or more security. And I don't think that's the answer, is it?
I don't know if you remember that, but right before COVID, we took the police budget away.
Yeah, we did. And actually during COVID, the defund the police movement.
Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
So think about it. And I knew that was a bad move.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was a bad move. Police do not get paid enough for the work that they do. Yeah, it's a lot of bad cops.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of good cops too.
Yeah. My friend is a police officer in South Carolina, and he was I was chatting with him during the whole defund the police movement after George Floyd's brutal murder, right? And he was just saying, look, like, a few bad apples, but this is not the solution, right? Like, we need to have police to manage the relationships of the community, because not everyone is, made equally, and there will always be people who prey on the weak, right? And that's the whole reason why I guess we have law enforcement, is to, protect us from bullies and et cetera. And I think that he was really kind of making that argument, and the whole defund the police movement was quite terrifying.
Yeah, we need the police.
Mm-hmm.
We need men to stand up in our communities, and if you see something going on in the community that's not right, make a stand for it.
How in your experience, because you've grown up in this community, like how dangerous is this concept of incarceration and not really being able to get out of that loop or that system where you end up going to jail, then you're on parole and you're going back to jail? Because I mean, I did speak with a parole officer and a prison guard a couple of weeks ago, and he's just said, like, the entire system is almost rigged to get those people back into prison, because the conditions of parole are so strict and so difficult that for any just ridiculous accident, you can basically be thrown back in jail. And he just said the whole system is there to keep people in the system. And you have to think that in South Central Los Angeles, you've got kids growing up with their fathers, for example, who are in prison, and then when they come out, that these kids see their fathers go right back, and that has to be completely devastating to any family.
Well, actually,
or is it just normal?
It's pretty normal, because in a lot of families, grandpa's in prison, and then dad's in prison, so I'm out on the streets, I'm running around on the streets, and then, I'm thinking it's an honor to go to prison.
It's an honor to go to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in a lot of kids' mind.
And that's terrifying, like, to think that, it's better to be in prison, for example, than to be...
Well, what they think is something, but that's, we talking South Central, that's been going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got this same type of mentality that it's an honor to go to jail. That's why you see all these crazy high-speed chases and all this destruction that's going on in every community right now. It's a mess. And that's what gets me. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's just about them over there in South Central. That's just about what goes on in their community." No, this is going on in your community.
Mm-hmm.
You better open up your eyes, because the next time you go to the grocery store, you might be approached with this situation. You'll be like, "Dang, T was trying to tell us, now I'm in this situation that, I got a split second to make a decision. Now, Ryan, you in the grocery store.
T told me to run. T told me to run. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you're a physically fit guy. Now, you get caught up into a altercation, right?
I'm not a fighter.
Look, if you and your wife is in 7-Eleven,
yeah,
and you walk out of that store and you feel that you got to protect you, well, for a fact as a man that you got to protect your wife, because it's you and your wife. You're going to do something to protect you and your wife.
Sure.
Okay. Well,
if your back's against the wall, yeah, you flip that switch and
all it takes.
Yeah.
Now, where's Ryan at now?
Yeah.
Ryan's locked up. Now Ryan's finna go through the system. So as soon as you hit that system, they're gonna hoorah you, and then you're gonna protect yourself again. And guess what? Now you got 30 years. Now you got life. Because they're going to keep on egging you on, and before you know it, you're on death row. It happens just like that to a lot of good people.
I mean, it's terrifying that like a young person growing up in that community would think that, you know, going to prison is you know, a badge of honor versus getting out and having a real career and you know, building something for yourself and then having the chance to maybe go back and help people. Like, it's crazy that those two roads exist, and people are actually even still today thinking that going to prison is, you know, something that can
see, that's the reason why we need Ryans and everybody else to come to the communities and grab like 5 or 6 of these kids and go show them a different environment.
Yeah.
Take 5 or 10 minutes, show them a different environment. Just show them that you care. Same thing happened to me with Joseph. All it takes is for somebody to go and spend that little time can change the game every.
And would you say that's probably the biggest message in your documentary film, Put the Guns Down?
I ain't gonna say that's the biggest message. I want you, after you watch it, I want you to call me up and say, hey, T, I got this. I want you to make a whole list and just tell me, because you know, we're journalists. Everything you're doing as a journalist, right? Mm-hmm. You're going out doing this and that, but I just want to feel what your response is. Because I every time I watch it, I pick up something different. Eugene tell me the same thing, but it's very educational. That's what I'm gonna say. What everybody need to sit down and watch this film. And I understand it's from South Central and it's the history of South Central and this and that, but close your eyes and pretend it's not.
Yeah, I think what you've done is really addressed some of the issues in South Central, but it's a microcosm for any community anywhere in the world, right? Because these problems exist everywhere. It's not just in LA.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's just LA STEM version on that. I could do one right now in West Hollywood. I could do one on Beverly Hills right now, and show what's going on in the community, and that's another part of the series.
So, so I guess we'll all wait to hear where we can watch this documentary film. I know you sent me a private link already, but where the rest of the people listening to this can watch it, whether it's on a streaming platform or in the theaters. And obviously, I wish you the best of luck in distribution, and I hope that you get the kind of response you're looking for, and you can feel maybe some of the change that you're pushing for actually start to happen in the community. But where can this audience learn more about you and your work? Like, are you on social media? Do you have a website? Is there anything like that?
Yes. You can go to terryccarneysr.com. terryccarneysr.com.
I'll put that on the bottom of the podcast as well. But what would we find on your website?
You're gonna find my website constantly is updated on all our next moves and things of that nature. We supposed to be, we're waiting on dates right now. We're going to do a private screening at the White House, private screening at the United Nations. I know we got Vegas coming up next month.
Mm-hmm.
It's all tied into the White House. And, you know, but right now we're going to focus on trying to get the distribution set up, so we'll have that done, and hopefully it gets released so that people can see it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great, and I just want to thank you so much for swinging by. Is there anything else you're working on, or anything else you wanted to chat about today?
No, pretty much that. In my book, I have a book out right now. It's in every bookstore, Amazon.com, Barnes and Nobles, Last Man Standing. Just type in my name, Terry C. Carney Sr. Matter of fact, you can go to my website. It'll carry you straight to the book. It's a book about my life story, and I made it funny, and I made it where you know, young people can read it as well and get something out of it. And hopefully it's nothing but positive feedback.
Amazing. Well, Terry, thank you so much for swinging by today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I'll be back anytime you want me, you know.
Now we can go to this wide one, and we can show everyone that, hey, we're in the same room.
Hey,
We don't do Zooms. We don't do Zooms out here.
hey, that's what I'm talking about right
Thank you so much for swinging by.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you.
Fade to black.